Okay, so, before we actually begin the episode for real, there's one thing that I forgot to show off in the last episode. You see, when I said you fight Heavy Rider back in the last episode, in Encore Mode, I believe, I implied that, there's no other option that you have to fight a Heavy Rider, and that that's the only boss fight you get. Well, turns out that's actually not true, because you're given a choice between fighting Heavy Rider or Heavy King. It's a little weird that, you don't fight both at once. It would have helped Encore Mode stand out a bit, but nevertheless, I was wrong. I was mistaken. I thought you could only fight Heavy Rider, but when I went back to check, turns out you can't actually fight Heavy King. But what's more is that when you actually get to Heavy King, you have a Purple Master Emerald. It's a bit weird. What's going on? Why is the Master Emerald purple? You can excuse a lot of the differing color palettes with various things, like Green Hill Zone, it's probably just a sunset with chemical plant. Maybe it's a different chemical plant, maybe the chemicals changed, maybe it got a makeover. Same for a lot of other zones. But a Purple Master Emerald? How do you get that? Doesn't make a lick of sense. That is very strange. So of course I'll show off the fight with Heavy King and the alternate entrance to Metallic Madness Zone. That's really all I have though for showing things off before the actual episode, so yeah, sorry it's taken me so long to actually introduce myself. On with the video. Let's just get this over with. I'm your host, the Mississippi King. This is Let's Play Sonic Mania Encore Mode, and in this episode we'll get through Metallic Madness Zone, which is my least favorite zone in the game, as I've stated multiple times, so enjoy watching me suffer, you sick fuck. In all seriousness, it's not actually that bad, but I don't really enjoy it nonetheless. It is not particularly fun, it's kind of drawn out, and it's not very enjoyable. But this is also the finale of Let's Play Sonic Mania Encore Mode, so we'll finish the game in this video and I'll be showing off both endings. But, I guess as I've been doing before, I guess I kind of have to talk about the color palette now. That's kind of become a staple of this LP, and it's probably just going to become a running gag among people who have seen this LP, that oh, color palette time! Or you gotta talk about color palettes a lot. This guy just loves obsessing over color palettes or whatnot. Nobody, absolutely nobody, the Mississippi King. Color palettes, that's where it's at. I swear, when these videos get uploaded, people are going to be mercilessly roasting me for talking about the color palette so much. As well, they probably should, too. The color palette here actually kind of resembles the bad future in Metallic Madness, which is kind of strange. But one other thing is that this color palette actually kind of reminds me of a Sunset Park in Sonic Triple Trouble, which is a very overlooked game. It's very unfortunate that a lot of Sonic fans don't really seem to talk about it all that much. Not a lot of people seem to, be aware of its existence, or maybe they have heard of it, but they haven't played it, which is a shame. It is one of the best Game Gear games of them all. It's honestly one of my favorite games in the series. Yes, you heard that right. That means it's up there in my eyes with, like, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, the original, and Sonic CD, and all of that. Frickin' Wi-Fi! It's getting in my way! These frickin' notifications for, like, Wi-Fi, it's like, you just sort of have to interrupt me while I'm playing, and it just keeps showing up! That's really annoying! Why do you need to, like, invade me? I should probably turn off Wi-Fi notifications next time I try to record this stuff. But that's one of the risks of, like, using a capture card. You can end up recording that can end up slipping through the cracks. That's, rather embarrassing if you ask me. Wi-Fi. More like Wi-Fi, huh? Am I right? I guess that's best of my pun game today. Stop freaking interrupting me with these freaking notifications, man. This is really getting to be a problem. The thing is, like, I'm in the middle of playing, so it's like it's not really something I can do at the moment. However, I think to prevent embarrassing instances like this, I'll try to remember to turn off notifications. Because, that's a bit embarrassing to, like, have it remind you that, like, the Wi-Fi is off. Like, I have been having quite some serious internet problems. It's probably got something to do with, like, the really atrociously bad weather lately. In fact, like, I'll be amazed if this video gets uploaded without any hiccups or things like that, because we've been seeing a lot of intense rain lately. It's crazy. You would never know just how much rain we can experience. That is pretty annoying that, like, it keeps it causes problems for me. Like, this rain is just very intense and it causes a lot of problems. I don't much care for so much rain.
Speaking of problems, dang it! I just ended up dying right there. That was a bit embarrassing, actually. I guess I may have to enter into a bonus stage. I mean, I haven't really shown them off a whole lot in Encore Mode, because, I've shown them off way too much in Mania Mode, and it's like, I kind of want to make up for that, but, every here and there, it's not probably going to be something that the audience will be bothered by, so they'll probably, I hope y'all won't mind. Still, you know what that means. In order to get this over quick, in order to, like, prevent this video from being too long, I guess it means it's time for a speed montage, which this may be the first speed montage of this playthrough. Obviously not of this entire LP, because of course I've done that before, but still, I'll just hop right into this special stage and take it, Ray. So now we're back to all 4 characters, I mean 5. It's obviously 5. I'm getting mixed up here. You see, that is the risk you take when you end up focusing too much on what you're saying and not on the actual game. And also, I did not mean to transform right there, although this does let me show off the Supersonic Mini. Micro Supersonic? Someone should come up with a name for that. That is kind of adorable that you get the option to play as a miniaturized Supersonic in Metallic Madness. They created that sprite just for this. That is some dedication, man. I admire that, and, I don't even know that most people may even encounter that sprite, because, that does take a bit of effort, and it's only confined to this particular zone, so I don't suspect a lot of people would run into that. But the level of devotion is seriously amazing. That's one of the things I like in just about any game I play, and this is no exception. But with Mighty, he can actually protect himself against these spinning blade things that might switch their blades, and also the saw blade enemies, because it gives the ability to curl up that protects him from that. However, it does not protect him from getting crushed right here, so you still gotta watch out for that. Don't get crushed, kids, and that's some good advice no matter what the context. But especially here, because that could be a pretty bad setback. And I don't want to experience some setbacks, because I just want to get this zone over with as soon as possible.
And now we've reached the boss. So, of course, I'm just gonna cheese this as a Super Mighty. And with the Super Mighty and Super Ray, they don't really get any unique quirks. Like, I don't believe that slamming the ground, for instance, actually shakes anything. Ray is just simply invincible when, like, he flies around when he glides. So there's nothing too special about it. It's really just a glorified invincibility and super speed and increased jump height, of course. But now, we've finally reached Titanic Monarch. And as always, like clockwork at this point, it's time to talk about freaking color palettes, because I have a nasty habit of talking about that, and, you know, the internet's already gonna make fun of me relentlessly for, like, talking about color palettes so incessantly. I mean, I'd make fun of me too, so don't feel bad, people. It's, kind of hilarious that, like, I've managed to make an entire playthrough, or I don't know if it's been like an entire playthrough, but much of a playthrough talking so much, so extensively about freaking color palettes that no one cares about. This time, Metallic Madness, Titanic Monarch, has a red city instead of a blue city. It looks unique, but kind of dystopian, actually. If I'm being perfectly honest, it looks like some sort of cyber dystopia, whereas in Mania mode, it looked like some glorious, futuristic, calming city. I like that look. However, this, it just ends up looking kind of sinister and a bit untrustworthy. That's a unique take on the zone. Arguably a more fitting take too, since, this is Titanic Monarch, it's Robotnik's final stronghold and whatnot. Oh well. I guess talking about color palettes is kind of just become an unintentional running joke. Because when I decided to start talking about color palettes, I didn't expect that, like, I'd end up talking about color palettes just all the time, and that it'd be, like, for, like, practically every zone at this point, and why I'd end up talking about it so much. But it just ended up happening, and it's kind of a running joke at this point. That right there was some excellent dodging, masterful dodging, and right immediately after I get done saying that, I end up taking a hit. That's fantastic. My skill level is horribly inconsistent, I tell you. Of course, it's not like it really needs to be that consistent. I mean, I think this is a very easy game. It's pretty easy even among Sonic games, and a lot of Sonic games are pretty easy, although, surprisingly their difficulty actually is quite a bit more varied than, say, Mega Man, because, like, the Mega Man series typically has a fairly consistent level of difficulty, but in this series, the difficulty can range from normal to pretty difficult. Sometimes it can be very easy, sometimes very difficult. It's weird. I'm not really sure why, like, some games are so difficult in the series. I don't really get that, but whatever. This color palette, by the way, it actually kind of reminds me of Skybase Zone from the 8-bit version of the original Sonic. It's actually one of the many zones that the game does not share with the actual 16-bit Sonic. And it's actually very different, and it's got a number of different gameplay styles, and there's Skybase Zone, which is very, very different from most of the stuff you'd see in the original, so it's quite distinct. But of course, Mighty's protective shell helps a lot in this boss fight against Crimson Eye, because it actually protects him when curled up against the balls that orbit Crimson Eye, so, you know, that's pretty useful. It's ridiculous just how broken Mighty can make some of the boss fights. I mean, I guess it kind of makes up for, like, not being a character that I enjoy to play as in stages. You know, it's like the Gaia armor in Mega Man X5, you know. It's not good for stages, but it's great against bosses. Like, it can utterly destroy so many bosses, and especially one of them in the castle stages, in the fortress stages. Anyway, he just makes the bosses very easy. So many of them are just not a problem with Mighty. But we've seen most of Act 2 already, so I mean, there's really no point to, like, show this again. I guess with that, I'll just have to set this to a speed montage. This time, set to the song Windy and Ripley from Sonic Adventure, cause that game has the best soundtrack in the entire Sonic series. Like, Sonic Adventure is my #1 favorite Sonic soundtrack. I just love its variety and incredible instrumentation for all of its music. Anyway, bye. See you on the other side. One thing I should say about Act 2 of Titanic Monarch Zone is it looks kind of like some sort of strange cathedral. It's actually pretty interesting, because like this looks like some sort of a strange, fictional, religious place. It's a very unique look. I actually quite enjoy the aesthetics of cathedrals myself, so this place looks pretty good. I can't believe Mighty's ability to protect himself worked against that pig enemy. But yeah, this place looks quite like a cathedral, and it's a very interesting look. I'm quite a huge fan of it. I'm not really sure why it looks like a cathedral, it just does for some reason. In any case, now we're facing off against the final boss. Yep, that's right. This is it, and of course, this also means we're fighting against the Phantom Heavies. They're all the same as they were in the regular Mania mode, but there's no Egg Reverie Zone to follow, and it doesn't matter which character you play as, it's the same regardless. You don't really need to worry about getting all 5 characters, it's the same regardless of what characters you have, the ending that is, and you don't get Egg Reverie Zone as I've said before. I must admit, I'm a little disappointed that collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds doesn't unlock some sort of unique level or whatnot. I was expecting more, and you know, maybe not something like a completely unique level where it's like a fairly regular length one, but maybe at least something like Egg Reverie Zone. I mean, I'm not saying it should have been like Egg Reverie Zone, because, you know, that is something that plagues Encore Mode. It is, in many ways, too similar to Mania Mode. There's not enough unique stuff. There's no final level or whatnot, it's the same regardless of whether you've collected the Chaos Emeralds or not. So you can keep that in mind, and you don't need to... That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what they call garbage playing. Now I'm just straight up losing characters left and right. That is what happens when you get cocky. You see, don't let your skill ever, like, define your ability to get over this, and this is not looking too good. Fortunately, I managed to survive that, but I am just doing absolutely horrendous at this. I can't believe, like, I'm losing characters left and right. You see, I am just doing horrendous. And, oh dear, I'm actually going to get a game over. Oh dear, that is not looking too good. I just need to survive this one heavy rider section. I mean, I guess that means I won't have to, like, go back to record that. I've shown off all of the fights with the hard-boiled heavies, so yeah, that's pretty good. This is the end of our journey. That's the last bit of gameplay of the Encore Mode. And with that, we're done. This time there are only 2 endings, instead of like 5, actually 6 or 7 endings or whatever. So it's the same regardless of what characters you have. However, there's a good ending for when you collect all of the Chaos Emeralds, and a bad ending for when you don't collect them all. And this ending right here is of course the good ending, since we collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds. But now it's time to show off the bad ending and see what happens here. Basically, the Phantom King, or Heavy King, shows up and takes the Phantom Ruby. So that's the bad ending, and that's it, we are done. We are completely done with Sonic Mania. Well, except for one video, the extra video, which, if everything goes right, this whole playthrough should be uploaded before Clement even starts his LP. So, I mean, we're making some pretty good progress. I've been working hard at this playthrough, and soon enough we'll be getting to the extra video. Stay tuned for that, folks. I'll be covering the extra modes, the mini-games, the sound test, the things that I missed or just felt weren't appropriate to include in the actual LP. I'll be going through all of that, so stay tuned. We're going to be getting around to that pretty soon, actually. Hopefully not long after this video goes up. But if you don't collect all of the Chaos Emeralds, this is the screen you get. And if you do collect all of the Chaos Emeralds, then you get this screen. And this, I admit, is a pretty good screen. I like that. It's probably the coolest of the ending screens of, like, the classic Sonic games. But that's it, folks! We are done! We have finished Encore Mode, and join me next time for the extra video, where we'll finish our journey through Sonic Mania. See y'all then. This is the Mississippi King signing out.